Hi, everyone. Today, what I'm going to do is a quick overview and kind of overview of the book report guidelines, and in doing so, do a review of Gary Allen Fine's book, Kitchens. So again, kind of keep in mind, what I'll be doing is kind of helping you out in terms of going through the guidelines, but again, kind of referencing the book itself and kind of connecting the dots between the two. So overall, like the first report, you're going to have to write 3 full pages, double spaced. And for the most part, everybody did pretty well with that with the first report. And likewise, you need to be citing and using the text as you build your arguments, as you present the reader your ideas, show the reader, where this information is coming from in the book, where the information can be found. And you'll be using, again, Fine's last name, the year of publication, and then the page numbers, where that information can be found in the book. So going down to the first part of the paper, here's where I ask you to look at the role of play within work. And so basically, what Fine says is play is functional in a work environment because it helps build that work culture. It helps promote an organizational culture, and that work organizational culture helps people build the orders when we talked about the symbolic order, the social order, and the physical order. So that's what we're looking at for that first part of the paper. And for the lecture, you can go to the October 15th lecture. And here's where, kind of within the slides, I talk about the role of play at work and kind of getting into these interpersonal practices, different forms of play that promote that work culture. So, revisit the lecture on the 15th for the kind of first part of the paper. Then also in the book. So when looking at the book, the first part of the paper can be found in chapter 4. So again, looking at the first part, you're looking at play, and looking at how play builds a culture, and overall, you want to look at the 4th chapter in the book when beginning your paper. And so moving to the next part of the paper, number 3, here's where you're looking at how there are certain economic barriers that all restaurants face. They can be internal or external barriers. And what I'm asking you to do is identify 2 of these barriers. They can be both internal or both external or one of each, these economic barriers. And with your 2 you selected, discuss how these are navigated, how these obstacles presented are navigated to be successful as a business. So that's where you're looking at there. So again, identify 2 limitations connected to economics, then discuss, how the employees will navigate these limitations. And for this, you turn to the October 20th lecture. So let me pull that up. So if you go to the October 20th lecture, again, here is where I talk about those economic limitations in both external forces connected to the market, to consumers, to the media, but also internal limitations connected to debt, pricing, and cost. Cost connected to food or cost connected to labor. And so regarding this question, number 3, you'll be turning your attention to chapter 5 of the book. So chapter 5 connects to kind of the middle part of the paper, number 3. And so finally, for number 4, I'm basically, asking you to do the same thing. Look at 2 limitations and how the limitations are navigated to be successful. But rather than looking at the economic limitations, we're looking at aesthetic limitations. And here in the book, we'll turn to the sixth chapter. And chapter 6, you'll find all the information you need. There it is. You'll find all the information you need for the last part of the paper, the different aesthetic constraints that are faced in the restaurants and how people navigate those constraints, those limitations, again, to be successful. And with respect to the lecture, that's in the same lecture that you found the third part, the middle part of the paper in, the 1020 lecture. So, revisit the lectures, concentrate on chapters 4, 5, and 6, respectively to the questions in the paper, and you should be in good shape. So like I did before, I'll be more than happy to look at any drafts of papers before you officially submit it. It could be a full draft of a paper or a partial draft. Either way, I'm more than happy to look at it. And like I mentioned before, just make sure that you're answering kind of every part of the question, because 2, 3, and 4 kind of have multiple parts in terms of identifying something, then discussing it. So just make sure you're addressing everything that I ask you to address, and you should be in good shape.